we may have mentioned it. Brandon Staley and the Chargers. Rob, I'm sorry. When you get a 27-0 lead, you should win.
Chris, I couldn't agree with you more.
I don't care what, like, you should win. 27-0, 27-7 heading in at halftime. You should win that game. Period. And Brandon Staley and the Chargers, obviously, as everyone knows now, gave up they lost 31-30. Trevor Lawrence, 4 interceptions in the first half, comes back with 4 touchdowns.
And 5 turnovers, Chris, in the first.
Second
half.
You
know, when you add in the fumble, they had 5 turnovers.
And it was a 5-0 turnover advantage for the Chargers. How do you lose? You got a 5-0 turnover advantage. How do you lose that game? And Rob, I don't think it appears Brandon Staley's safe. I don't know if they've come out and made an official
Adam
statement.
Schefter is reporting that they're looking at the coordinators, but they believe that Brandon Staley is safe. And Chris, it is the biggest cop-out of ownership by the Chargers. There's a reason why some teams never win. For real.
Thank you.
And this would be that example. Because, Chris, as bad as this was, it ain't just about this.
Thank you.
It's a laundry list of reasons why Brandon Staley should be fired. Mike Williams didn't play because he played him in a meaningless game. Last year, in what essentially was a playoff game against the Raiders, right? He cost them getting into that.
Called a timeout with 30 seconds left.
Exactly. And the Raiders were basically ready to just let it be a tie.
Because they both would have got in.
Right. And they both would have got in. And then we've seen them blow games that they should win, Chris, with dumb Madden calls where you're going for it on 4th and 9 at your 32. What are you doing?
Rob, this year, remember in October, they played Cleveland. 4th and 2, I believe. Right, 4th and 2 at their own 46.
And they didn't make it.
A minute left, right. They failed to get there.
And the kicker missed it for Cleveland, Chris. They should have lost that game.
Which is makeable, obviously. Yeah. And remember, Keenan Allen, and this is another reason I think that
I remember what you're going to say.
He tweeted what the but it wasn't, WTF is going on.
Because he's at home and he knows it.
He was out, right? He was injured, and he's watching the game. And Rob, the tweet from Keenan Allen, and let's hear from Justin Herbert first, and then I'll get to that.
All right.
We believe in Coach Staley in the front office, 100%. Everyone would be lucky to have a coach like Staley. He's been an incredible leader. He's got the respect of everyone on our team. He's genuine. He's himself, and we believe in him. And he's been the same person the past 2 years. And it didn't go our way this year, but we took a big step forward. And we believe in this coaching staff, this team. We've got the right pieces. We just got to put them together. We got to execute better.
All right, and Joey Bosa and an offensive lineman came out and they gave their vote of confidence to Staley as well today. And that may be true. I don't know, Rob. But I mentioned the tweet from Keenan Allen. And then after Mike Williams got injured in that game, Rob, that meaningless game, Gerald Everett, the tight end, he had a nice game over the weekend. He said that situation was demoralizing. And Rob, I don't just kind of looking at those things, it did make me wonder, does Staley have the locker room? Because that's another. I mean, Rob, you mentioned several of the gaffes, and then you lose a 27-0 lead. And Rob, I get it. Herbert has to wear this to some degree.
Chris,
all
100%.
the players are not. None of them are absolved from this loss. It was a team effort, so to speak. But Rob, Brandon Staley, there were a lot of plays where in the second half where they were running them with 12, 15 seconds left on the play clock. Milk the clock.
And Chris, no doubt about it.
That's
and they only ran the ball 4 times in the second half when you have a big lead.
Was it 4 or 7 or something?
I thought it was only
but it was a small number.
Right. It was small.
I think it was 7. But
okay, I thought it was 4. But it ridiculous, Chris.
Right.
Like ridiculous. And this is what you got to know how to play it. Yes, you can't just come out and throw the ball around and incomplete passes, Chris, the clock stops. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to get, if they had 2 drives, they probably would have won. Like, if you know what I mean, you eat up clock. And the other thing is, he's a defensive coach. You can't let people get plays over your head, Chris. And you got to have it in front of you. We talk about it all the time. I'll give you 7 or 8 minutes to score a touchdown in front of me.
When I'm up 27-7,
in front of me.
Or 27-0.
Keep throwing the ball in front of me, and I'll let you make those plays, okay? As long as we eat clock, and it's going to take you 6 or 7 minutes to score this touchdown. But I can't give you a touchdown in 2 or 3 plays. Staley.
Rob, you mentioned defensive guru, which is what he had the reputation of. He was a defensive coach
with the Rams.
With the Rams, right? When they won, when they won the Super Bowl, but the year before that, and they were good. And Rob, their defense got worse. It was one of the worst in the league his first year, last year. And then it improved a little this year, but it still was worse than when he took over the team. And finally, Rob, and I hear this, and I'm sure you probably heard it too. Well, he's only 40. He's learning from his mistakes. You see the 4th down calls. He doesn't make them as recklessly anymore. Rob, there's only 32 of these jobs. You don't get a head coaching job in the NFL to learn on the job. Obviously, you will get more experience and things as you coach longer, but you have to be somewhat of a finished product. And I get it, a mistake here or there, but we talked about Mike McDaniel. He made some mistakes in this game. I don't think that's enough, to get him fired. He did a very good job. Otherwise,
not to get him fired.
You're going to make some mistakes. But Rob, you just ran off a laundry list. And they are too good. They've got too much talent to continue to underachieve.
Including the quarterback, Chris, who I don't know what. Did he play the second half? For real.
He was out there, but they didn't get it. And Herbert didn't have a great game. He only had 1 touchdown.
No, he didn't have a great game. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was mind-boggling. Yes, you get up 27, you got to realize, how did we get there? We got there because they gave you the ball.
Right.
Like, you didn't put anything together. They gave you the ball in golden opportunities and situations. And they fumbled. We weren't talking about fumbling a playoff win. That is huge. And to think that you're going to take out the coordinators. I'm sorry. Brandon Staley should be fired. And this is why the Chargers, I don't get them. This whole thing about, you want to stay with continuity. You don't want to change. You want to stay with what? Sometimes, Chris, you got to upgrade. You got to decide, we got to do better. We have too much talent. Keep playing around. You think you have windows open forever. Go ask Dan Marino if his window is open forever to win.
Well, and Rob, we've seen this season how much of a difference coaching makes. Look at the Giants. What were they, 4-13 last year?
Yep.
Now they're in the second round of the playoffs.
No doubt. Rob G, you got to add something?
Yeah, so Jim Trotter, friend of the show, NFL Network, he's been on a couple of times.
Okay, so the black Jim Trotter.
Correct, the black Jim Trotter. Now, he lives in San Diego, so he's covered this franchise for 2 decades, basically, right? And he put out a long thread over the weekend after the loss explaining exactly why he doesn't think the Chargers are going to move on from Brandon Staley even after the big loss. And one of the reasons he laid out is that the Chargers front office and ownership is, for lack of a better word, cheap. Just for an example, he says, hey, their last 3 head coaches, none of them had previous head coaching experience, so they could get them for a lower dollar amount.
There you go, Chris.
But here's it. Just give you an example. These are the 3 guys they chose recently and who they interviewed beforehand. They spoke to Andy Reid before they hired Mike McCoy. They spoke to Sean McDermott before they went with Anthony Lynn. They spoke with Brian Daboll before they went with Brandon Staley.
They don't want to pay anybody.
Wow, 3 really good coaches. And so I guess that, it looks like Staley's going to remain the coach anyway. But to talk about Sean Payton, because he was going to demand major dollars.
He ain't going
and that's what Jim Trotter said. He said money is one. The other one, they love their draft picks, and they have a stacked roster because of it. They never trade their picks. So he said, don't ever expect them to trade a first-round pick for a coach.
But they keep underachieving.
Right.
They're getting these picks. They got talent. but they don't do much with it. So
it's mind-boggling. Like,
Nah,
you remember
it
the old Marty Schottenheimer teams, Chris. They used to win a lot of games.
Rob, even Dan Fouts,
Yep.
remember those teams? They were really good.
Don Air Coryell was the coach.
The story of the Chargers, Rob, is good, but never great.
Yep.
That's their story. And I don't know. Maybe they're satisfied with that. All right.